Live from the apocalypse, I am Lou Bega's favorite blogger, Dan O. Mambo number Dan. My co-host to the box on that side. Call him the hot stepper, it's K Diggy. Murderer. So we had lots of options as to what to talk about today. This was a good release week. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And
this is one of the strongest we've had in a while.
I wanted to jump in and just really talk about it because it feels like there's a lot going on. I was listening to the Dad Bod Rap Pod, shout out. Are you frozen? What's going on? Hello?
No, you're going.
Your image is frozen. You're like, oh, there you go. You're back. Okay. So the Dad Bod Rap Pod was doing their mid-year, right? Talking about the best albums of the year. And, I don't know, 3-4 hosts, they were all giddy. They were all just really giddy. And this is not a podcast that covers, Taylor Swift's new album. This is underground hip-hop stuff, right? And so they're talking about armies. They're talking about shrapnel. They're talking about, at one point they just said, okay. At one point they just said, are we in the Alchemist section now? And they were just really excited to cover it. And it's felt like there's a lot of really good music out there. Would you agree with that? Hello?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, you're like freezing up. You're very.
Yeah, the connection is not great on your end either. Let me. Should we try and stop the recording, start over again?
Now it's smooth. Now you're like smooth. Now it's smooth. This is like the smoothest thing.
All right. So now we do a different thing. Free Music Empire has never delineated between underground, mainstream. It just kind of is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the underground feels like things are great, I mean, for me, it feels like things are awesome. Because even Bob Dylan's got a new record that's good, right? I mean, just like everybody's got great stuff, throwing heat. So I wanted to, and I brought this up in the lead up to this thing. I said, as listeners, we hear so much. We don't get to go back, but also we overlook artists' best work because of the amount of greatness around. How do you recommend people who watch us stay focused on the albums they listen to? What was in your mind as you pulled apart the albums we're focusing on?
I mean, the way that I listen to albums is, I think you find a song or aspect of the album that you like or that you love, and then you let it grow from there. You let it grow organic. You know what I mean? So if there's one song on an album that you like, listen to that repeatedly, get into it, really learn to appreciate it and love it. And then eventually your love for the album or for the rest of the songs will grow. You know what I mean? Like you'll play a song and then eventually you'll let the next song play. And then you'll see an aspect of that song, of the next song that you like. And your love of the album just grows organically. You know what I mean? But I think the key thing is to find, you don't have to necessarily like the whole album, but find an aspect or a song of the album that you like and let it grow from there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like being a detective a little bit, like, and a great single is just a clue,
Mm-hmm.
and the clue could lead nowhere, as we've seen many times. But the
Yeah.
clue could lead you to, the most interesting case you've had. Um, so I want to talk the albums that we did. And I've got some backstory on some of these albums. Uh, Let me start with Teyana Taylor, the album.
Yeah.
Let me bring.
And that's the name of the album, folks.
Yep.
The album.
Yep. It's interesting. Some real Teyana Taylor is born for this. She was dancing in Jay's video for Blue Magic in 2007. She was signed to Pharrell in 05. Wyke says, as an aspiring songwriter, Taylor has worked with and written records for artists such as Usher, Chris Brown, and Omarion. IMDb gives her director credit on 17 videos. Music videos. A quote from her in Cosmo in 2016. The first time I stepped into a booth, I was 7. I started singing on the train to make money, just hustling. No matter how much money I get, I still got to grind. I still got to work hard to get where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of, work ethic we're talking about. And she worked extensively on Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and went to Good Music after that. Beyonce asked her to teach her how to do the chicken noodle soup. Like, when Beyonce asks you for dancing tips, you're pretty good.
You saw the Fade video, right? From Kanye?
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she was amazing in that. I mean,
so the last thing I was gonna say is the album sounds like someone born to take the mantle of Missy, Aaliyah, Madonna, someone who doesn't just want a dope album but wants the whole world.
Ambitious. Okay.
You can feel the ambition. This isn't just like, hey, let me talk to you about my life, right? This is like, she's got Puff Daddy on here. She's got
Puff Daddy's son.
Oh, King Combs, right? Sorry, Puff Daddy's son. But she has just all these really big features.
Yeah.
And the videos are very cinematic. She knows how to direct the videos. She knows how to dance in the videos. There's a will and determination to her music.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like 90s stuff when that was a thing.
Remind you. Now, what do you mean by that statement?
So when I saw the Wikipedia entry and it said she wrote for artists such as Omarion, Usher, Chris Brown, I thought, God, those are 3 artists who just don't exist in modern forms. There is no new Omarion. That's not a thing.
Okay.
There is no new Usher. No one wants to be the new Usher. Like, Moses Sumney is making very artistic, lyrical R&B that is complicated. He doesn't want to be Chris Brown. That's the kind of R&B lane that I think Diddy thinks is going. I think this album belongs to that.
I mean, particularly for Chris Brown and Usher, they started to veer towards pop,
right?
And dance. So, I mean, I would say a lot of Chris Brown stuff is more pop than R&B, and Usher is more. His is either trap R&B, or dance club, like Will I Am.
And I'm not using that to say because I did. I think I said to you when I first heard this, I was like, "This is R&B, not soul. Like
Yeah,
it's
agree.
just a
Yes,
different groove."
yes.
I didn't mean that disparagingly, even though I'm a soul guy.
No,
The machine of R&B, when it's well done, can kind of incorporate anything and make it work.
absolutely.
Like Quavo, do you remember what was the song with Quavo? Let's Build. That's like the best Quavo in a year and a half.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It actually made him. I shouldn't say that's not. It sounds harsh, but it made him enjoyable. Like I enjoyed listening to his song. But shout out to the Migos because I do like them.
It was amazing. It was. It, she is. She's a 360-degree visionary, and this is why I remember when her last album came out. Was it KTSE? Isn't that what it's called?
Yes, yes.
The I remember I had friends who were mad that it was mishandled like it was.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "This is the second best thing they had."
Yeah.
In that whole, we're gonna give you 7 songs from these different people and make that happen. The Nas thing was horrible. The Kanye was horrible.
Okay.
Pusha was amazing, and this is like, right there.
It was an afterthought. You know what I mean? Like they had to. And from what I remember, like the way that they were rushing it, like Kanye was flying on an airplane back from his and Kid Cudi's like album debut, and he was working on her album while on the plane. Like it was just an afterthought. You know
Kanye
what I mean?
cut a verse of hers without telling her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal. And
Yep.
that could work for some people, right? Some people would be able to adapt and fit within the vision of Kanye. From listening to the album, it's very clear she needed the control.
Yes.
She needed
Yes.
that. She's someone who needs to be. I direct the video. I tell you what the concept is. I tell you what the cover is. She is like she's too good to be your muse. Bottom line.
Absolutely right. Yes. And I mean, and another thing that this album reminded me of is, I think we were talking last week about how the albums are getting shorter. It's clear to me that last year when KTSE came out, it was 2018 or 19, I think it was 2019, right? When KTSE, a lot of these, I could hear, it seems to me that she's been working on a lot of these songs for years. You don't have an album this long and just work on it. You don't get all of these songs within a year. So it seems like she wanted some of these songs to be on that album, but because she had to adhere to that 7-song concept, a lot of them got cut off.
This is a massive album. What are your favorite parts of it? What did you like? What was your sweet spot for what she was doing?
I mean, there were a couple things that stood out to me. A couple aspects of the album. I loved how personal it was, particularly the song "Wake Up Love" with Iman Shumpert.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was just. I mean, and that's her husband. Her husband as well. I mean, that was just a gorgeous song.
And the video is amazing. I don't know if you've seen the video.
I haven't seen the video yet.
The video is where she reveals at the end that that she's pregnant and they're gonna have a kid or whatever. It's really cool.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. But
beautiful thing. She can get good when she's personal. I'll tell you my preference. The things I really liked was any song that kicked her into a faster register.
Okay.
Made It. I love Made It.
Yep.
I love Made It. I love the end of this album. I love it.
Friends,
Made It, Friends, We Got Love. I mean, We Got Love is a great album closer. But when she did that, like cash, yeah, fast, yeah, and like doing this Cash Money kind of melody behind this really uplifting song, I was like, this is her lane, dude. Like, a lot of people can't do this.
No, right.
A lot of people can't do it. I mean, And I tell you, she wasn't on my radar, really wasn't. Uh,
Mine either.
but until the SNL performance. Do you remember that SNL performance?
No, I didn't even know she was on SNL.
It was during that like run up of the like big like Kanye MAGA hat performance stuff.
Okay.
And he brought the Good Music crew, and he was, and honestly, they were doing the kind of rapper thing. I'm like, and she came out there looking like a superhero, dude. Jacked, high energy,
Yeah.
just throwing down. And I was like, wow, I did
Yeah.
not know she performed like that. You don't know what someone's energy is until you see them like that. Um, and I realized, I was like, man, she is dedicated. And that's when I went back to KTSE, liked it a lot more, and then bookmarked it like next album. I'm into this. And then the singles came out. Bear with me. We got love, and I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm prepped for this. It did not disappoint.
No. No, and another aspect that I liked about it was I feel like R&B now is becoming, particularly albums, R&B albums, they're like very, I guess, one-dimensional. Like if you're going to, like I look at The Weeknd, like if Weeknd's releasing an album, he's going to approach it from one angle. You know what I mean? It's probably going to be like drugged up, breakup, misery songs for however long the album is.
People are really excited for like 6 Lakh's new album, and I'm like, is it gonna be versions of the same song?
Exactly, and they approach the subject from one particular angle, and so it gets kind of repetitive. And I feel like that's a lot of R&B albums. What I liked about this album was it felt three-dimensional. She talked personal. She talked about, loved how her album opened up with 911. Oh, she was delivering her baby. But then at the same time, she can have, a love song, or she can have like a really sexual song. And I will say she does the sexual song, she does very well. They're not too over the top, but they're not too soft either. Like she found like the sweet spot and how I'd want to hear my sex songs. You know what I mean?
It is weird with that when in terms of a sex song, there is a balance. There's a balance in terms of if they go too hard, you feel like you shouldn't be there. Like, would you like me to leave? But if it's too soft, then it feels like a marketing ploy. It feels like you're just like mailing that in because you're like, look, I'm gonna get in a sexy outfit in the video. It's gonna do numbers. This is what people do, you know. And it no longer feels like you exploring you, right? But it's a tricky thing, and it's not fair a lot of times. I'll be honest, because we don't know any of that from the artist. That's just the way it hears to us. But yeah, she is good, and there's lots of different tempos on this album. It doesn't feel extraordinarily long, even though it is. Right. Anyway, I want to go and give you some background. Same way Taylor lived in the shadows of Kanye and Good Music, Meyhem has lived in Action Bronson's shadow, Meyhem Lauren. But since Action has become an actor, the Irishman, King of Staten Island, and a TV personality on Vice, I think his output has taken a step back. And for the past few years, Meyhem Lauren has been better. He just released an EP called Glass 2.0 with Harry Fraud. It's a sequel to their 2008 EP, 2018, sorry. at one point on Twitter, I said something like Meyhem Lauren is a guest verse killer. He responded to my tweet and said every verse. I remember thinking that is exactly what he should say. I'm glad his mind is in the right place. He built on his successes and stayed focused. He has projects with Harry Fraud, DJ Muggs. You know, he has Alchemist Production. I mean, he's coming up. And this EP is kind of a short shot of adrenaline.
Yeah. I mean, kind of touching on Action Bronson. I mean, he was in a Scorsese movie last year.
Right.
That tells you where his mind is at.
It's hard to drop album of the year as you're doing that. It just is.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, I listened to the whole Glass 2.0, and I enjoyed it for what it was. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the first song set the tone. Like, you know what you're gonna get. You know what you're getting into. I mean, some of his nicknames, like I love the nicknames he gave to himself. Like, one of the oddest brags I've ever heard, but like about the water spilling in his back seat because of the tank he had installed in his car, a fish tank he has installed in his car. I mean, that was very creative. That was probably one of the most creative. It's not a humble brag.
What did he say? He said something like, "You're not as old as the cheese I eat."
Yeah.
Like he did.
Phenomenal.
Unique guy, destroys versus just goes in. I think the problem for him is the same problem for Action, right? Even at his peak, Action Bronson couldn't understand why you would need to conceptualize an album. Mm-hmm. Why do people have concepts for their albums? It doesn't make sense. They put on a beat, you kill it. Just keep moving.
Right.
That was what he always said. That's what Mayhem does. They destroy songs. But can you imagine if this had been 23 tracks? I don't know that it would have survived 23 tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect length because the content gets kind of repetitive, per se. I mean, his lyrics, the lyrics and what he likes to, his go-to, I want to say tropes, but that's not the right word. His go-to things kind of get repetitive after a little while, but I think it was like the perfect length.
So, and to get weird on this, one of the things that killed surrealism, because surrealists believed when they were painting that they would clear their mind and they would just paint what was in their subconscious, right?
Okay.
And that was pretty incredible. But after a while, you start to realize that even your subconscious has patterns.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if you ask me for a random number, I'll give you 7 most times. 7 seems like a random number to me.
Right.
I just always think 7. So and as a writer, you start to realize this about yourself. You start to go, ooh, I use that word. You know, and you start to try and pivot, right? And one of the discussions they got into on the Dad Bod Rap Pod was about Ka, and he doesn't change his cadence. He never breaks that flow. I want him over a different beat, all that stuff. And I think it's totally fine to talk about Ka being repetitive in that format, but he's not a repetitive writer.
Right.
As a writer,
exactly.
He's brave. He's exploring lots of new things all the time.
Yes.
And so even if you accept the production is the production and you're never going to get a big pimpin' out of him, that's okay. you can still listen because he's got new stuff to say, right?
Right, and I think he's doing, I mean, if I want to see a master, he's okay. How do I say this? He's perfected his craft.
Right.
You know what I mean? He knows what he sounds good over, and so he's gonna paint. It's like, I think of it like an artist, when an artist has periods. You know, like certain periods where they paint like a certain style for an extended amount of time.
Right.
That's how Ka is. Ka knows what his style is, and he's perfecting that style. So he's painting in that style, but he's painting different subject. I mean, look at, you know, one of our albums of the year, Descendants of Cain.
Right.
Yes, maybe the flow is kind of the same, but the topic and material that he's covering is
hugely
different.
And even look at Rock Marciano,
yes,
who doesn't go deep like Ha or anything, but he formats his songs. He reformats his songs, experiments with things, and keeps it fresh.
Yes.
But if you're just spitting, you're going to be spitting the same kind of stuff over the sorts of a career. And Mayhem's been around for years and years. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you need to show them something they haven't seen.
I mean, for me, it got to a point, like the subject matter of the rapping was the same, but the musical landscapes that Harry Fraud was creating was the hook for me by the end of the album. To see what he was creating, he created some excellent musical landscapes for
Ducati Dreams is unbelievable.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, Harry Fraud. There's a bigness to the music, but there's a sludginess to it.
Right.
It feels thick.
Yes. Yes. I mean, steamed monkfish, the album closer, Jarrisburg. I mean, those were, by the end of the album, that's what was drawing me in, to see where Harry Fraud was going, as opposed to Mayhem.
And I guess what I would say to my answer to the Action Bronson Meyhem Lauren of like, I'm just gonna spit fire. I'd go with some Descartes, Rene Descartes here. For it is not enough to have a good mind. The main thing is to apply it well. The greatest souls are capable of the greatest vices, as well as of the greatest virtues. And those who proceed only very slowly can make much greater progress, provided they always follow the right path, than do those who hurry and stray from it.
Yeah.
You got Descartes. But it's true, right? It's not enough,
right,
to have a great mind. There's a lot of people who have a great mind. It's not enough to have a once in a lifetime flow. There's a lot of people right now with a once in a lifetime flow.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the way I think of it, it's like you can have a horse that has the most power, but if you're not able to rein in that power and control that power, then it's all gonna go to waste.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, man, it's a waste, but the people that have like this great ability, but at the same time, or this great ability or this great mind, but at the same time, they're able to harness that and focus that and really put a lot of discipline behind that passion. Those are the great artists, that great works that the world's got, is dying to hear the moment they drop.
100%. And I guess the last one, well, not the last one, but the one before the last one, I feel weird about covering it, just in the sense that Free Music Empire was founded to cover these like beautifully obscure people, but John Legend's Bigger Love is a really interesting album to me. I combed this planet to find a reviewer who felt me about this album, and I got one from the Independent UK.
Yep.
It starts, John Legend is the king of schmaltz. No one can do eyes closed at the piano ballads like he can.
No
And
one.
it's paid off in billions of streams and countless sold-out shows.
Absolutely.
Yet, despite being crowned sexiest man alive in 2019, Legend is the first to admit he struggles when it comes to sex appeal. The last paragraph of it ends with artist-producer Raphael Sadiq. Legend has made a remarkable leap out of his comfort zone. He could easily have served up another full helping of R&B romance, but instead he tested himself, something you rarely see in artists of his stature. It's impressive. That's how I feel about this album.
Impressive?
Yeah. It's not my album of the year. It's not something that I'm like overjoyed about. But I was surprised.
Okay. That's fair.
He surprised me.
I mean, yeah, I mean, what I'll say is I really appreciate some of the collaborations that he had.
Oh man.
I mean, when you can have an album that has Janelle Kale on it, Rhapsody, Coffee.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's a hell of a lineup to have.
Great mix.
But I mean, there were some issues. It was a little bit uneven to me. I mean, here's what it is. So this was the first John album. This was the first John Legend album that I've listened to in full in about 15 years. And so my journey through it, when it first started out, like those first couple of songs, like I'm excited because this was the most lively that I've heard John in a while. Because, you know, when the John Legend I'm used to now is the all of me loves all of you John Legend. So that's what I had pegged him as. That's the direction I thought he was going to go in for the rest of his career because that's his moneymaker. He knows what to write to get the dance floor, the wedding dance floor popping.
Yeah, I feel like he had become kind of the John Mayer of R&B.
Yes, and not the new John Mayer, not the old John Mayer, not the older interesting John Mayer. Like,
is there any John Mayer comparison that you want as an artist?
Hey, I liked Continuum. I liked No Such Thing. I mean, I have your thing. I love early John Mayer. I'll defend him. But this new John Mayer, you can have at it.
Have at thee.
But you know what I'm saying? I think like those guys, once you get to a certain level, you know what your bread and butter is, and you're just gonna keep buttering that biscuit and getting those checks. You know what I mean? And hey, it's a business. More power to you. You know what I mean?
But that's why I'm proud of this album. That's why I'm proud of Bigger Love, because he's really trying to do something different. He's really trying to shake it up a little bit. And there's no outside motivation for him to do that. This isn't a profitable move. Car commercials are a profitable move, right? He should be making like Hallmark card music. But the reason I know about that, he went on Jesus and Mero, and he said, this album's going to surprise you. This album's more sexual. And that's when I said, I got to hear this. Like, I I gotta see what's going on with that.
It was classy. It was classy sexual. Like it wasn't. If we're comparing it to Teyana Taylor, this wasn't sexual. This was like soft sexual, which is good. Which is his audience.
Would it be
You know
like
what I mean?
It was like
that's
60s.
That's fine.
60s crooner sexual. This was like
Yeah. A lot of implications. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Which is fine. I'm not ragging on because that's what. When you get to a certain level, when you get to a certain level, you can't take risks like that.
I feel like the first guy in R&B who crossed over to the other side and just said, "Look, we're having sex," was Teddy Pendergrass. I feel like Teddy was the first one I remember being like, he just yelled, "Lock the door." Oh dear. I mean, the Isley Brothers insinuated a lot. And they figured out awesome ways to do that. Of like, Between the Sheets, a really cool song, and it sounds like that. But the first guy to be like, "Lock the door, it's time." And Teddy is out there. But yeah, I feel like John Legend is a pre-Teddy Pendergrass like R&B singer.
And so here, and this kind of ties into my issue with the album. So instead of fully committing to one path, you know what I mean? For me, I could sense a little bit of pandering. So the album started out really strongly, a lot of risk. Like the song "I Do" is already one of my songs of the year, and I just listened to it for the first time this weekend, and that's already one of my songs of the year. But then after that, we started to veer into the John Legend that I'm familiar with right now, and there were a lot of those sappy. I'm not going to say sappy. There were a lot of those radio singles that he knows, like his voice audience and the voice demographic is going to love, and that can get played on the radio. And so, you know, the middle part of the album was stuffed with those, and then, you know, the back half, there were a couple. There was the Coffee song.
I love the Rhapsody song. Remember Us?
Beautiful guest verse.
Love. Oof. I mean, and that's the weird part is I like this album a lot, but there's no question what you're saying is right. It should be better.
Yes.
You have "I Do." You have the perfect first song of the year, like "Ooh La La." Ooh La is a perfect first song. You have this amazing Jhené Aiko collaboration, "When You Move, I Move," which is just stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But that is the most interesting collaboration team of the year for me. Both of the songs they did together are wonderful.
Absolutely.
The song on Chilumbo and the song on this, I could lock in with them for an EP and love it. But you have those in place, right? "I Do," "Ooh La," "Remember Us," "When You Move, I Move," and you can't bring it home. You know what I mean? God, you got to bring it home, man. You got to just tighten this up.
Yep.
But he does have a gift. He's a gifted songwriter.
Absolutely. That can't be denied.
He finds interesting structures and lines for these songs. It's just that they're too clean sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. And you know, that's what was that part bothered me, because I feel like there were if you're going to commit to being risky, don't go halfway. You know, take the true risk and make a cohesive album without songs that you know are going to be hits on the radio. You know what I mean? So it just felt like pandering. It felt like he was covering his bases a lot, very similar to what Drake does.
It's hard to like enumerate what is missing, but if I had to pinpoint something, I would say the best of, because I was thinking of, do you remember that the old kind of versus battle of the 60s was Motown Stax Records, right?
Okay. Yep.
So, Smokey Robinson, Otis Redding, you know, Otis has got the big church voice, Smokey's got the smooth radio voice. The problem with putting John Legend in the Smokey camp is when Smokey hits "Ooh Baby Baby," you feel that shit.
Feel it in your loins. Yeah.
When James Brown hits "Please, Please, Please, Please," you feel that shit.
Yep.
And John Legend has a hard time making me feel that shit. But he did a few times in this thing. There were
which songs?
Particularly the first song, "Ula," and particularly those stuff with Janae. I mean, the "When You Move, I Move." Like his duets are quite good.
Yeah.
When you put him in the room with the female singer, he can figure it out to grand effect.
Right, I agree.
So I think this is an album he can build on. That's what I say. This is not a great album, but the next one could be.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, and I felt like Raphael Saadiq, like you could tell. For me, I could tell what songs he had he was more involved in.
Right.
And I could tell which songs that John was like, okay, we got to put this on because I need to please my voice audience. So I think if you give Raph Saadiq the reins and say, okay, I'll trust your vision, because I feel like I think John Legend's best album was Get Lifted, in my opinion. And the thing with that album was that Kanye, he trusted Kanye with the reins to it. And so that was his most cohesive album. The song sequencing was excellent.
Right. That's fair. The production was lively. Yep.
Yep. And I think if he let Raph do his thing next album and just let him take the reins, he could make a really great album, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe not the voice audience opinion, but in my opinion, yes.
And if you want to bring in a few people, maybe you bring in Saadiq and Questlove.
Oh yeah.
And just have it be two titans of that thing. I think that would work. But I didn't really gather any notes for Wale because Wale is just a part of my life. Wale released an EP. It is called The Imperfect Storm. And we could go over some of the, like, basically the backstory on Wale for anybody who kind of just knows pieces of Wale. He came out as the blogger's dream. There are some projects that are a dream for a blogger or a reviewer, right? Mixtape About Nothing is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Mixtape About Nothing is like this, really cool DC rap album with Seinfeld as the through line. And his relationship to the kind of inertia that Seinfeld lived in, mixed with the hip hop of that time, Nike boots, stuff like that. And it was just great to write about, and people loved it, and I thought it was fine. And he released his Backpacker album, and it got disappointing reviews, and the fan base kind of turned on him, which honestly, that's kind of what that fan base does, right? When they put you in the J. Cole lane, those fans aren't sticking with you. They're up and down and up and down and up and down. and it's hard for you to find stability with them being so up and down. You're constantly fighting to redirect your image. Look at Black Thought. I mean, look at any of these guys, right? Well, signed to Maybach Music and Rick Ross, and a tidal wave of hate, the likes of which I have only seen a handful of times. Beset Wale, like vicious reviews of his music because he had left behind all of their dreams of backpacker Wale.
Yeah.
And now he was riding in the Bugatti,
Sold out to the machine
with Ross, and he was telling gross jokes. And I will tell you, when he first started, like, I don't know if you remember, there was like maybe a BT Awards, a freestyle thing where they'd cut to different crews and they'd be freestyling.
The Cypher.
Yeah, and I remember Wale just savaged it. And I was like, oh, I could go with this.
Yeah.
I could do it the new stripped down Wale. And I jumped on board right as he went to MMG and became everybody's least favorite. And I'll tell you, once Ambition came out, you couldn't tell me anything. From then till today, you can't. It's, I think Ambition is an amazing album. And little by little, the hate subsided. Little by little. Took years, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about, what was it, there's a term Twitter talks about where people are black famous?
I think that's the term, yeah.
Like, you can't just walk into a bank and ask the teller if they know D. Ray Davis. They probably don't.
Yeah.
You know,
I think, what is that? It's from the Chris Rock sketch, right, or something? He did the joke a bit about that.
I think that'd be right. But, like, Wale never lost that. Like, he always had this black audience with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he always sold reasonably well, even when the outside world was shredding him, even when the pop world was shredding him. He sold enough to keep it moving, and little by little, you know, pieced himself back together, and released what I think is his second best album last year. Wow, that's crazy. And I wasn't expecting much from him. I'm still bumping that album. That album's awesome.
That came out. That's so crazy. That came out last year, man.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking it. And then he drops an EP out of nowhere, 6 songs about the unrest we are experiencing. And it just hit me. It was just, the more I listened to it, the more enamored I was with it.
Yeah. Me as well. I mean, for me, personally, this is my favorite Wale project.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's his best one.
No, it's all opinions valid, man. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could obviously make a case that Ambition is his best, but this is probably my favorite project from him because he just sounds, and we saw a lot of it. We could see that he was on his path with Wow, That's Crazy. He just sounds more comfortable with himself and looser.
Right.
And this is the loosest and most comfortable that I've ever heard Wale sound.
Yeah, I don't want to go too hard on the J. Cole versus Noname nonsense. Are you up to speed on this stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. But somebody on Twitter said Wale read the room. And I thought that was a really good comparison of that between this. Wale read the room before he jumped in with this stuff. He gave us an EP 100% on topic for what is happening, but it bounces. It's so much fun. It doesn't talk down to us.
No.
So the two questions: is Wale better than J. Cole? Is that just reality? Can I start saying that without people losing their minds? Huh?
Here's what I'll say, because I thought about this, and I thought of this in like two different aspects. Now, I think that Cole's peaks are higher than Wale's peaks, but if we're looking at discography and what they've actually produced over the past couple of years, I think you can make a case that Wale is better than Cole. But it's almost like, and the best metaphor I can think about it is, for a player to get, let's say, you know, there's a sports hall of fame. There's usually two ways that a player gets into his sports hall of fame. One, you can either have a long career of like sustained excellence, or you can have a relatively short career, but the excellence that you displayed was so high that it would be impossible for them to say, it would be impossible for them to recognize the best in your sport without having you there.
Yeah, I mean it's like Derrick Rose versus Gary Payton.
Okay, I was thinking more Tracy McGrady.
Okay, but because like Derrick Rose, similarly to Tracy, had that window.
Yes,
right?
yes, one MVP, yeah.
And Gary was the shit.
Yeah.
He was the shit. I take Gary.
Right, and it's all about personal preference. Now, I think Cole, when I look at Cole, and I've mentioned this to multiple people, Cole has some of, in my opinion, some of the best hip hop guest verses in history.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like you and I, we love the No Sleep. We love his verse on No Sleep with Janet Jackson.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
One of my favorite verses of all time. And he has other verses. So in concentrated spurts, J. Cole is phenomenal. Now for sustained excellence, Wale, I mean, look at all of the projects. Wale has a project every year, it seems like. And they're high level, they're high quality. Maybe not the same peak that a particular Cole moment had, but it's sustained excellence over a long period of time.
And in the same sense that like J. Cole is the new Nas, because one of the reasons Jay had to do the diss on Blueprint was because he needed to explain to people that, like, I've earned it more than this guy. You keep talking about how legendary this guy is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the last time he was good.
Right. Had spark when he started, but now you're just garbage.
And like,
yeah,
you're sitting on your laurels and you're giving people mid-grade.
Yeah.
And you're acting like it's awesome.
Yeah.
And like, my beef on the Cole front is that Snow on the Bluff is a really bad song.
Is it? I wouldn't even consider it a song, actually.
It's
in the traditional sense.
It's streaming. It's a song. It's
okay.
It's out and it's bad. It's bad in the sense that the production is really irritating and schmaltzy. His tone is, oh man. So me and my friend went to see Cole, right? We didn't go to see Cole. Let's be clear. We went to see Big Crit. Big Crit was opening for Cole. We didn't hate Cole. We dug those mixtapes, but we were aware this is a man-child. There's problems here. So Crit comes out and slays. This is one of the best live performances. And then Cole comes out, and I swear, mic in hand, he pulls up and sits on a stool and just starts talking to us about life and segueing into his songs. And I'm like, oh, fuck you, dude. What is this? Like, what do you think? Like, telling us how about life. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's him.
Yeah.
That's Cole, and Snow on the Bluff sounds like that. And I feel like when he releases one of these terrible fucking songs, by the way, they're everywhere. Folding laundry. I mean, you can
Oh,
pull up and you can go to Genius and find a J. Cole song that will make you so embarrassed.
yeah,
None of them count. The only things that count are his successes.
yeah.
People
That's fair.
count his successes, and the rest is gone. And I kept thinking to myself, what if it had been reversed? What if Wale had put out Snow on the Bluff and J. Cole had put out Imperfect Storm?
I mean, I don't think Cole couldn't put out an album like The Imperfect Storm.
True, but I'm just saying, if he did, he would be like, there'd be like GOAT discussions right now.
Yep.
It'd be like,
yeah,
top 5 ever?
Agreed.
Question mark?
Yep.
And Wale would be laughed at for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I just
fair
think
point.
Standards are different. But yeah, what did you like about Imperfect Storm? Let's get off that then.
What I liked about it is that it showed that you can do a serious. You can have a serious song that doesn't sound serious. You know what I mean? Like, you can create a song that can be enjoyed on multiple levels. And I thought that what I liked about this project is I felt like that it found the right balance. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, I get, if we're going back to Snow on the Bluff, that was a little bit too pretentious to me. Like, he knew that, okay, I have something serious to say, so I need to sound serious. You know, and the people need to know as soon as they put this on that I'm being serious about this. And so you can only, once you get the message of what he's saying, like, okay, you know, that's a fair point. Like, there's very little replay value in it. Now with this Wale, I can appreciate it on multiple levels, and I can keep going back because there's different things for me to listen to. There's different levels that I can listen to it on.
Yeah. Tell you a brief story.
Okay.
Yesterday I was very sick, felt very bad. I went up to the bedroom to just lay down. Next to my bed is a giant box of books, just giant. And just all the kinds of books in there. And I looked down, and there was
wow.
And I thought to myself, Wale is so brilliantly black. I'll bet you I can open to a random page in this book, in the book, Between the World and Me. And there will be something there that is a good understanding of the Imperfect Storm. Do you want to hear if I was able to do it? Oh, come on. You back?
There we go. Yep.
Do you want to hear if I was able to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. All right. By that time, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. By that time, my friends included a great number of people with ties to different worlds. Make the race proud, the elders used to say. But by then, I knew that I wasn't so much bound to a biological race as to a group of people. And these people were not black because of any uniform color or any uniform physical feature. They were bound because they suffered under the weight of the dream. And they were bound by all the beautiful things, all the language and mannerisms, all the food and music, all the literature and philosophy, all the common language that they fashioned, like dreams under the weight, like diamonds under the weight of the dream. Not long ago, I was standing in an airport, retrieving a bag from a conveyor belt. I bumped into a young black man and said, "My bad." Without even looking up, he said, "You straight." And in that exchange, there was so much of the private rapport that could only exist between two particular strangers of this tribe that we call black. I read that, and in my haze, I felt like, who's been better at representing the tribe than Wale? Just in terms of what he's talking about, the joy, the pain, the humor, the fullness of the tribe.
You know what I'll say is I think of if we're going to take it on like a viewpoint, like I view Wale as more of like a macro rapper. You know what I mean? Like he's viewing the forest.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cole and Drake to a certain degree, like those who he's compared to. I'm only mentioning him because that's who he's usually compared to. Those guys, there's like the top five young rappers. Wale's probably number 5 right now. So he's in that tier within that discussion. But Wale's always viewed it from a macro level, like he's looking up and he's looking. So he's in the thick of things. So when he raps, he's rapping about things on a macro level, which is why this album hits so well, because you could tell, like I think the first song he talks about his experience in the DC area while the protests were going on. So you could tell that he was probably in the thick of things as well. He was probably walking around, talking with people or talking to people who knew. And that's just not a level that you're going to get from a guy like J. Cole, whose rapping is so focused on his personal experience.
And it's so lectury.
Yes.
Like a lot of the J. Cole stuff are diary entries. As you said, they're just isolated.
Yeah.
And whereas this Wale album, it's I mean, was that red, yellow, light blue, is it blue,
Red, yellow,
blue, yellow, green, pink, white?
What? Yep.
We're just like to the percolator. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And he's just having so much fun. But he never misses a beat.
Yeah.
Everything he's talking
and one of the songs
is important.
Yeah. And one of the songs he said was dated, like he recorded June
5th.
And so he had a week to, yeah. And so, I mean, when did this album, this is 18th? He released it on Juneteenth, I'm guessing.
Yep.
June 18th. So, the turnaround was about a week and some change, but it still sounds polished.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just in it for me. Listen to this EP. It showed me he's in a very good place right now, as a person, and his music is reflecting that.
What do you see as, if someone were to go up to you and say, what are the skills that Wale has as an MC? What does he do well?
I think now he's much more, he doesn't take himself as seriously as he used to. and you don't take yourself that serious. You allow everyone, the listener, to relax as well. So I think his lightness regarding himself, but at the same time, he's honest as well. I think he's very honest, and we saw a lot of that in his last album. Wow, that's crazy. Where he talked about some of the mental health issues that he was going through as a person, and the way that he talked about it was in such a enlightening and really heartfelt way.
Right.
So I think that he knows how to do that. I think he's got a great ear for beats, and I think he's got a very versatile flow as well.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I remember this was early. He had like a collaboration with Brother Ali, and I felt Brother Ali kind of beat him off the track.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because early Wale was a rapper's rapper,
Mm-hmm.
right? He has become, all of his huge singles have been R&B influenced, right? On Chill with Jeremiah,
Right.
Lotus Flower Bomb with Miguel. I think his strength at this point is he's done so much really good R&B rap.
Mm-hmm.
He's become the melody.
Yeah.
There's a natural melody to his flow that always feels like the hook.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's positively juvenile territory. He's kind of the benchmark for this. Everything
Right.
he ever said felt like the hook.
Okay.
And that's kind of where Wale is at this point. He's rapping and it's about serious stuff. But man, when he hits the right, he knows what to do in the right settings. The switch from June 5th to Queens and Gods. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
And the way he hits the chorus to start it off. The Majo, so amazing. It's just like, who could do that? Yeah, really incredible, man. It was. So if you have to rank them, these 4 releases,
Okay.
what is your ranking?
Glass 2.0 is gonna probably be number 4.
Okay.
Number 3 is Bigger Love. I'm gonna go number 2. I'm gonna go the album number 2, and then I'm gonna go Wale's The Imperfect Storm number 1.
And it's weird. I have the exact same ranking. And all week I thought, man, the Wale is number 2. The Wale is like that album. The album is just a real piece of work. I mean, there were these 4 albums are in 2 different camps, right? Bigger Love is 55 minutes. The album is an hour and 17 minutes. Glass 2.0 is 25 minutes. Imperfect Storm is like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but over time, I thought, man, Teyana Taylor worked so hard for this album.
Yep.
And it's very clear Wale did not work that hard.
Yeah.
For The Imperfect Storm.
Yep.
But it's better. And it's better because Wale is one of the best rappers who ever lived.
Wow.
That it sounds crazy, but back to the Gary Payton thing. Gary Payton's one of the best defenders who ever lived.
I mean,
he was
right.
like 9-time first team all defense,
Right.
defensive player of the year in '96. Why am I rattling off Gary Payton statistics? This is the saddest thing in the world. Anyway, but you wouldn't think of him as that guy, right?
Right.
You wouldn't think of him in the class of Scottie Pippen, but he very much was. I think that's what's going on here is that it'll take some time, but eventually it's going to be undeniable. Wale's really one of the best who ever did it.
I mean, if it's going back to what I was saying earlier about Hall of Fame, like if you look at their discography, I mean, Cole has a couple mixtapes in the beginning, and then he has maybe, how many albums does he have? 4, 5 albums?
They're not good.
KOD, like his albums, they're not good. I agree. They're very uneven, very inconsistent. Like I wasn't a fan of KOD. I wasn't a fan of the album with the Folding Laundry song on it.
There's no album.
Forest Hills Drive was, yeah.
There's no Wale album that's as embarrassing as Born Sinner, and it's not even J. Cole's worst album.
Mm.
It really isn't. He's just. This is just what happens, and
right.
I don't want people to think that I hate J. Cole. I really don't. I
don't either.
I like J. Cole, but it is people are acting like he's one of the guys, and I don't think he's one of the guys.
No, I mean he hasn't produced a classic body of work in my opinion. That's what separates. That's why I put Kendrick above him easily, because every song that I've heard them both on, Kendrick has decimated him. But Kendrick has put together masterful bodies of work. Drake has put together, in my opinion, a couple masterful bodies of work. Wale has put together, I mean, Ambition. I thought, wow, that's crazy. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but it was a masterful collection of songs, a body of work. J. Cole has not put together a masterful collection of songs or a masterful album for me that I can just say that he's undeniably the top 2, top 3 best rapper right now.
Yeah, no, that's the beef, right? Is Kool Moe Dee says every era has 3 kings of rap, you know? And it used to be whatever, Drake, Jay, and Ross, or you know what I mean? Now it's probably Drake, Kendrick, and most people would say Cole, but I don't think Cole's earned his way.
No. I'd agree.
I don't think he has, and I don't think there's like Wale would have done a song with Noname.
Right.
He wouldn't have picked a fight.
But okay, that's fair.
Wale is the one who was doing songs with Megan Thee Stallion before anybody knew it made sense.
And well, let me say what I don't think. I like Snow on the Bluff. I don't think that the message was. I don't necessarily think he was wrong per se. Like I'm not critiquing what he was saying or how he was expressing himself. I just felt like it was pretentious. You know what I mean? And and I don't consider it a song because one, I don't even think his rapping fits over it. His rapping didn't like jive with the song. As in the music on the song. So it just felt like it was just an exercise like that he knew that he could release that sounded serious, that would get attention, bring attention to him. And
I don't even know if it was that deep. I think it's just on some level.
Okay.
He kind of thinks that he gets to just have a discourse with the world whenever he wants. And he just thought he would plunk that in the center and it would be a conversation piece. Because he said that he's like, she's great, she's a queen, you should follow her. He's like throwing shade, backing the shade back, and he's just like, guys, I just want us all to think about this. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But it's, yeah. I mean, he
really did, like, when I contrast the J. Cole and Wale, J. Cole really didn't really say anything. you know, I mean, he didn't say anything particular about what's going on right now. He just said, Noname, like, you know, you kind of went at, I felt like you were coming at me, like, you know, I didn't read on this shit. Like, I don't know what's going on, so you shouldn't, like, hold me to that. Like, I'm just trying to, which is fair, but at least Wale, there's more substance to what he's rapping.
Yeah, and he's cool. He's cool doing it, and he's found his place. He's gone through the other side of this stuff. And part of the reason I think it's hard to keep in check is you have to think about it, because I heard everything Cole did right from the beginning. Cole is part of one of the best classes of mixtapes, like draft classes imaginable. Crit, Kendrick, you know, Drake. I mean, it was incredible. Stacked.
Right.
Cuddy probably was around that time. I don't, you know, everybody was around that time.
Right.
And he was one of the guys who got the spotlight right off the bat. And so there's always a part of me that's like, if you want, go ahead, but I'm not sure he's the best on his label.
You know, I can't say, I mean, I think J. Cole's peaks, that's why I'm saying I compare him to Tracy McGrady, because when he is focused and in a concentrated spurt, he can give you something that no other rapper can. Sure. I honestly believe that. But
sure.
But I haven't heard him sustain it through a whole body of work. And I've heard Wale's done it at least 2 or 3 times for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's and it's a crowded area now, right? It's not, there's a lot of smart people saying smart things right now.
Yeah.
So back in the day when he dropped something like Snow on the Bluff, people would be enamored more with it. But now people are listening to Billy Woods.
Yeah.
People are listening to Run the Jewels. Like, they don't want any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a different environment.
Yeah, good.
But put on this, the recommendation time. One of my favorites is back. Starlito. Crazy Atlanta dude. And he's got a new project called Paternity Leave, I believe it's called.
Okay. I'm hoping he had a kid.
He's got 7 kids.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It's all about like connecting with being a dad, like while not being with the woman, and like it's not like my baby mama's a bitch or anything. He actually has really interesting emotional beats where he says, you know, I tell her she sucks, and then I hang up the phone and I dream about us all being a family again.
Wow.
And it's just like he's the guy. Like he was doing that pull your guts out stuff way before anybody else was. Back when everybody else was still trapping. And so with him coming back with, you know, songs like Girl Dad and just like songs that are truly about his parenthood and how much it means to him, it's great to have him back. Missed him.
Okay.
Do you have any recommendations?
No, man. I mean, this week was just, I mean, it was good. I was full this week, you know what I mean? I had a lot on my plate. So.
And I have the Scarface hat on in homage to Benny the Butcher of Scarface. he's got an NPR Tiny Desk concert that's super fun. A
Benny the Butcher?
Tiny Desk concert from home. And it's crazy because it's Griselda, so they edited it and shit, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. So find that. Benny the Butcher's great. Always a good time. Yeah. Stay safe. Obey the panda. We out.